scientists have finally unraveled the Loch Ness Monster mystery. Ready for the big reveal? Here it is. The Loch Ness Monster isn't actually a monster at all. The most likely explanations. It could be a surviving dinosaur from ancient times, or simply floating debris mistaken for a creature. Thanks to years of research and numerous discoveries, we now have a clearer story to tell. The legend of the Loch Ness Monster took off in 1933, when a man named George Spicer and his wife were driving along the shores of Loch Ness. That's when they saw something massive with a long neck cross the road. It looked like a creature straight out of the prehistoric era, a dinosaur-like beast, unlike anything they had ever seen. This sighting ignited widespread speculation, and soon theories about Nessie spread like wildfire. One of the most famous alleged sightings occurred just a year later, in 1934, when a man captured a photograph that would become the most well-known image of Nessie. Yes, that's the nickname she was given. The photo, known as the surgeon's photograph, showed what appeared to be a long-necked creature rising out of the water. For decades, it convinced people that Nessie was real. But years later, the truth was revealed. One of the men involved in taking the photo confessed it was a hoax. The image had been staged, and when it was originally published, it had been heavily cropped to make the creature appear much larger than it actually was. This misleading edit fueled the belief that a giant beast was lurking in the lake. By the 1960s, scientists began conducting serious investigations into the Loch Ness mystery. A research team used sonar equipment to scan the waters, searching for evidence of large creatures. What they found was puzzling: several large, unidentified objects moving deep in the lake. Though they couldn't capture anything definitive, the findings only strengthened the belief that something enormous was living beneath the surface. Over the years, more studies followed. In 1972, researchers used underwater photography to capture strange images that briefly reignited hope of proving Nessie's existence. But ultimately, the evidence remained inconclusive. Not everyone, however, was convinced by the fantastical theories. One zoology professor from Oxford University firmly stated that the Loch Ness Monster was a biological impossibility. Hey, my pediatrician said that about me too. He pointed out that no skeletal remains had ever been found in the area, and no fisherman had ever caught anything remotely resembling the creature. To him, this was clear proof that Nessie couldn't exist. As for the famous photos of the monster, the professor had a much simpler explanation. Most of them were likely showing floating debris or birds, such as cormorants, which have long necks and can appear low in the water. When people argue against his claims, he brings up human psychology. People often misjudge sizes and shapes, especially when they catch only a fleeting glimpse of something, and even more so when they're already hoping to see something mysterious. Many alleged Nessie sightings describe an animal with a long neck and small head, leading some to believe it could be a Plesiosaur, a massive marine reptile that lived 215 million years ago and disappeared alongside the dinosaurs. This theory has been around since the earliest sightings, but scientists aren't buying it. No plesiosaur fossils have been found in the region that date to anything later than 66 million years ago. The idea that such a creature could have survived undetected for millions of years simply doesn't hold up scientifically. Another theory comes from a British naturalist who spent over 50 years investigating the Loch Ness phenomenon. His conclusion? Most people who report seeing long-necked creatures are simply misidentifying other animals. He suggests that many believe they're seeing a sea serpent, when in reality, they could be looking at large fish, swimming birds, or even oversized eels, which do inhabit Loch Ness. Large eels, especially when they move in the water, can create an illusion of a long, undulating creature. If spotted from a distance, particularly in low light or misty conditions, they could easily be mistaken for something far more mysterious. Then there's another theory. Nessie isn't a creature at all, but rather a series of standing waves. These occur when two boat wakes move in opposite directions, creating a large ripple or hump in the water that could resemble a swimming creature from afar. Some Loch Ness enthusiasts have even demonstrated how this effect works using footage from Fort Augustus, where a river meets the loch. Determined to solve the mystery once and for all, Loch Ness researchers have attempted to use infrared drones and underwater microphones to scan the vast waters. Given that Loch Ness stretches around 23 miles long and plunges to depths of over 700 feet, they believed these advanced tools would finally put an end to the debate. But despite their efforts, Nessie has never been found. And it's not just the Loch Ness Monster that science has debunked. Similar legends, such as tales of Yetis and Sasquatches, also lack credible evidence. While movies and folklore continue to romanticize these mythical creatures, the reality is that extensive research suggests they likely don't exist. Biologists have used camera traps, motion-activated cameras placed in remote areas, to capture images of wildlife in regions where Bigfoot and Yetis are rumored to roam. Over time, these studies have recorded countless species, but no evidence of large, unidentified primates. The longer these studies run, the fewer new species they detect, strongly suggesting that creatures like Bigfoot simply aren't out there. Even from an evolutionary standpoint, the idea of a giant ape-like creature in North America doesn't add up. Great apes evolved in Africa, and the only one to ever reach the Americas was Homo sapiens, whose ancestors crossed the Bering Strait roughly 16,000 years ago. That's far too short a time frame for a new species like Bigfoot to have evolved. While the thought of undiscovered monsters lurking in our world is exciting, the scientific evidence overwhelmingly points to one conclusion. Creatures like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, and Yetis exist only in myths and stories. After decades of research, it's safe to say that science has cracked the case of the Loch Ness Monster, and it's purely a work of fiction. So, what do you think? That's all for today. If this satisfied your curiosity, give the video a like and share it with your friends. And if you want more, just click on these videos and stay tuned to Cosmic Chronicles.